Right, hello guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about some of the most optimal DPS setups for every class in order to get you raid ready for the final shape. Now, it's been a while since I made one of these videos and I wanted to give you guys a fully updated guide on what's considered optimal DPS for every single class. Now, a lot has changed with the release of weapons like Edge Transit and general buffs and nerfs causing meta shakeups. So today's video will be a comprehensive guide explaining everything you need to know. Now, this video will contain a mix of what's currently considered the best, but I'll also be accounting for potential nerfs hitting builds like Banner of War, as it's expected this aspect is going to get hit hard with the final shape patch, as well as things like Lucky Pants and a potential nerf that those boots could receive. It's also worth noting that the strategy you use for DPS is incredibly dependent on several factors like boss mechanics or design, as well as range and phase duration, which is why for this video I'm going to be selecting rotations that are applicable to most types of encounter design. So let's start with Warlocks. By far the best class to use for Warlock DPS is Strand, as it comes with a strong burst super in the form of Needle Storm, and it also enables grapple reload teching by using the grapple grenade and the thread of ascent fragment. The aspects don't really matter, but the grenade and fragments do, so you're going to want the grapple grenade obviously, and then the two fragments that are mandatory are thread of generation and thread of ascent, which will let you spam grapple reloads with thread of ascent because of the constant grenade energy that you're getting back from thread of generation. Moving on to weapons, you're going to want Izanagi's burden for a strong kinetic burst option, and now we have a sunset persuader. Now I just want you to believe me here, this slot doesn't actually matter that much. The only reason I have this is because technically this sniper is probably one of the best even though it's sunset. This is one that you can actually pull if you got it before, but because it has explosive payload on it, this is actually like a 10% damage buff, and other snipers like Father Sins, you know, you can use this if you don't have access to old Persuader. Like I said, the damage is kind of inconsequential anyway, but things with Father Sins, the best perk here is Focus Fury, which requires you to hit 3 hits, which isn't really optimal in the rotation, so I'm just using this because it has explosive payload and the damage buff is always there. After that, we're going to be using Edge Transit, but this role is not the one that you'd be thinking. It's not the Envious Bait one, it is the Cascade Bait one. And now the other perks here don't really matter. Obviously it would be a bit more beneficial if you had mini frags like I do, but the role that we want here is the Cascade Bait role because we're going to be using our grapple grenade to reload it during the rotation. In terms of armor, you're going to be wanting Necrotic Grips, as this adds a little bit of extra poison damage over time when you do your Strand melees, and you have 3 of them. And the poison from Necrotic Grip lasts 10 seconds, and with 3 melee charges, if you space them out correctly, you can get this to 30 seconds of poison throughout the entire damage phase, which is just a little bit more damage on top of what you'd normally be doing. Mods wise, of course, we're going to be wanting Surges. I've opted for a single kinetic and double Void Surge. I'm unsure whether having triple Void Surge is more effective, but as you'll see, the amount of damage we deal is quite a lot, so whether it would be more or less, I'm not too sure, but this is just what I've chosen, as I believe this is an optimal choice. So in terms of how the rotation works, we're going to have to start with a Hone Izzy, and then it's going to be 1 shot, re-hone it, then swap to 1 shot of the sniper, and then empty the clip of the Edge Transit. Now at this point, we're going to use the grapple grenade to reload it, then we're going to swap back to Izzy, fire another shot, then repeat, 1 sniper shot, and then bang, 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 bang. And then we can throw a melee to proc Unravel and add a bit more poison. And by that point, our grenade should be recharged. Obviously, because we're in the Enclave, it's not going to be there for us straight away. So as you'll see in the clip that I'm about to play shortly, it will include a super in the rotation. I normally do it after 2 cycles, but you can do it whenever. It's up to you. I hit one of my threadlings. It's okay. Okay, that was decent.
That was good.
I don't know if that's 3.2.
3.2-ish.
If it's 3.2, I'll be happy. Yeah, nice. Good, good, good. Lovely. Now that rotation that you saw there is pretty impressive, though it is fairly long range and requires the boss to have a relatively easy to hit crit. But fortunately, most bosses in the game do fit this criteria, so fret not, you can use this in most places. If instead you're relegated to the Wellcaster, you can use this rotation instead that uses Rain of Fire and a rocket launcher to kind of improve the DPS of the rocket by dodging to reload it at the end of a cycle. So weapons for this are going to be Wither Horde, Cartesian Coordinate, this doesn't really matter, this could be a Solar Slug, a Solar Sniper, just kind of filling the time between the reloads of the Apex, and then obviously Apex Predator. Now we're going to be pairing this with Rain of Fire, and I'll just show you guys quickly what this looks like. So what we would do is we would shoot 1 Wither Horde, 1 Fusion to proc BNS, and then 2 rockets, followed by a dodge, and then another rocket. Then we go back to Wither Horde, then continue with our Fusion, maybe 3 or 4 shots, back to the rocket, dodge again, shoot another rocket, back to Wither Horde, Fusion, Fusion, back to the rocket, dodge, rocket, Fusion, boom, boom, and the rest is self-explanatory. There we was perfectly timed.
I learned from the best, Lombardy, too.
Thank you. Nice. Nothing crazy. What's that going to be like? 2.6? 2.6? Yeah, there you go. See, I know my Greg. Next up, we have Titan, and I'm sure to no one's surprise, the meta damage class is Strand with Banner of War. So looking at the class, the only two aspects that you really need are Into the Fray and obviously Banner of War. Into the Fray is just to improve the uptime on your Frenzied Blades, but if you're being optimal, you won't actually end up using them at all. Instead, you'll be using the grapple melees with the Navigator that I'll explain in just a moment. So weapons-wise, we're going to be needing the Navigator. Now, this is the dungeon exotic from Ghost of the Deep, and with its catalyst, it will allow us to create a grapple point, which we can constantly grapple to in the sky and do infinite grapple melees. We're combining this with a 1-2 punch shotgun to double the damage of said grapple melee, and then I just have a sword on for movement here. You're not actually going to be doing any damage with your heavy weapon, so this doesn't really matter. So our exotic of choice is obviously going to be Wormgod Caress, that is going to allow us to do some insane melee damage, allowing us to kill bosses very, very quickly, as you will see shortly. Then I just want to quickly add about loadouts. We do have two loadouts here. The first one is for having the Navigator, and then the second is swapping to Tractor Cannon to have a couple shots that we can use to debuff the boss. I also swapped to yet another 1-2 punch shotgun, so I have a little bit more ammo in case I end up running out with one of them. You don't have to do this step, but it will increase your melee damage by 30%, so you might as well if you can. I also put triple strand surge for the shotgun damage, but it's going to be such a small percentage of the overall damage you're doing, it doesn't really matter, but I just have it on there because why not? So how does this rotation work? Well, it's actually fairly simple. All you have to do is create a grapple point with the Navigator somewhat vertically above you, and at that point you can just swap to your other loadout with Tractor Cannon, and because it's still there, it lingers for around 15 seconds. You can refresh it with a grapple if you need to, and then when you actually have it, all you have to do is shotgun, grapple, and then swipe across. So it's going to be shotgun to proc 1-2 punch, grapple up, and then just use your grapple melee. So it's going to be boom, 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 fairly simple. It does take a little bit of practice, to be fair. You're not going to be getting this down against every boss. It will take a bit of practice. It's not as free as people think it is, but it really is just tractor, shotgun, grapple, melee. I believe you can do around 3 grapple melees before you have to reapply Tractor Cannon, but after you do, it's just repeating the same process. And you can really kind of twist it around, especially if you're on a mouse and keyboard. If the boss is like behind you, you can kind of go this. You can be quite aggressive with it, you know. The grapple won't snap, even if you look away just for a split second. So you can track to the boss, hit him, go backwards like this, you know. Pretty simple. So in order to show you guys what this can actually do, I'm sure you've seen this already, but I'll just let the clip speak for itself.
Right.
Okay, it's looking good. That tractor.
Oh my god.
Oh, look at that! Love that. Love it. Love it.
Let's go.
Nice. Solo, one phase, grasp ogre. So yeah, given that you're actually able to kill the ogre in one phase entirely, and I believe Greg has around 4.4 million health in 30 seconds, which is pretty nutty. However, I do believe that Banner of War is going to get a pretty steep nerf in final shape, or at least most people assume it will be, and to be honest, I believe it should. The thing is, I'm sure they won't gut the neutral game of Banner of War, so I'm sure it'll still be a very good subclass to run neutrally as a Titan. You will have to choose between Solar or Strand, because we'll just have to wait and see what the nerfs are like. But if the neutral game still ends up being very good, you can still use it with the Izzy, Persuader, and Edge Transit rotation. Simply use the same fragments that you did for Warlock, so Generation, Ascent, and you should still be generating enough grenade energy to keep spamming the Cascade Bait roll just as you were before. So yeah, do keep in mind that the grapple rotation is not specific to Warlock. You can do it on the other classes as well. I do want to give an honorable mention to Pyrogale Gauntlets combined with the Burning Maul Super. However, this is very situational. It depends on the boss model size. If it's a decently sized boss that has a very big hitbox, it can work very well. However, the damage also hinges on having Roaring Flame stacks going into damage. Now, Roaring Flames does have a pretty hefty timer on it. I believe it's around 19-20 seconds, something like that, but it does run out. It is just something you have to worry about when going into damage, which just ends up complicating things a little bit. That's why using a super like Thunder Crash is a lot easier, because you don't have to worry about keeping any stacks up or whatever. If you just combine it with Cuirass of the Falling Star, you're going to be doing the maximum damage. The thing is though, the neutral game of Arc is pretty weak, weak, so unless it gets some decent buffs in the final shape, or perhaps this might actually be very suitable to use with Prismatic, because I believe Thunder Crash is going to be part of Prismatic Titan, so it may end up being a lot better there. We'll just have to revisit in the final shape. But right now, a safe bet is still using Berserker Titan with Navigator and 1-2 punch shotguns, and then in the final shape, if this ends up being gutted, you can still use Strand with the regular Izzy rotation from before. Finally, we come to Hunter, and I promise I've saved you the best till last, because in all honesty, this rotation that I'm about to teach you is so beautifully elegant, and it also ends up doing a ton of damage. Now, I do want to give credit to Chicken SI2, as I believe he was the first to kind of discover this rotation and publish it, and it really is a piece of work. So I'm sure that this is going to come as a surprise to a lot of you, but we're actually going to be opting to use the Revenant Hunter subclass, the Stasis Hunter. Now, why is this? Well, it's actually because of this one fragment here, the Whisper of Impetus. This is going to allow us to reload all of our weapons while throwing a Stasis melee. Stasis Hunter has 2 of these Withering Blades, which will allow us to do 2 reloads, plus we also have Marksman Dodge, which will allow us to reload our heavy weapon at least once. The aspects actually don't really matter at all. It's more in the fragments here that matter the most. Whisper of Rending here makes it so primary weapons deal increased damage to frozen targets. Now, we're going to be combining this with Lucky Pants, which means that our kinetic hand cannon Warden's Law is going to be doing way more damage occasionally when we freeze the targets in our rotation. And then we have Whisper of Chains. This is just kind of give a bit of damage resistance. Doesn't really matter here. These 2 matter the most though. So this is Whisper of Hedrons. This dramatically increases your weapon stability, aim assist, and airborne effectiveness. This is mainly for the stability that you get with your weapons. It's just to kind of reduce the incoming flinch that you get so you can manage to hit your crits with your hand cannon. Then we have Whisper of Impetus. Like I explained earlier, this is purely to reload all of our weapons and give us a slight edge in DPS in the rotation, because as we all know, reloading is the bane of DPS. So taking a look at what weapons we have, we're going to start with a Warden's Law with 4th times a charm Vorpal. Now this is going to be with Big One spec equipped, of course, and I've actually opted to not have a mag perk. Instead, I'll have the magazine size at 16. You can have a mag perk equipped, which will bring the magazine size to 22. On my roll, I actually don't have one, so this perfectly works out. But the reason for that is to make it so the portion of the damage rotation that you spend using your hand cannon is less, because you have less bullets in the magazine. And you'll see why that's important when I play the clip later. Then we have a Void Shotgun in Nessus Ablation. This has Reconstruction Vorpal. You can easily sub this for a Void Sniper if the encounter demands longer range weaponry. I just have the shotgun on because why not? Greg is fairly close range. And then once again, we're going to be using the Cascade Bait and Switch Edge Transit because of the raw DPS it is able to output that you have seen in the previous segments of this video. Finally, this is without any artifact mods. I intentionally opted not to use Pillar of Ice or Hail the Storm just to show what this rotation would look like when we don't have any stasis shatter enhancing mods like we do now. So yeah. And then finally, moving on to armor, our exotic of choice is going to be Lucky Pants with 1 kinetic surge and 2 void weapon surges to buff our Warden's Law by about 10% and then our other void weapons by 17%. Now, this rotation is fairly complicated, so I'll just try and explain it the best I can. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our super first, so, you know, pretend I use my super, and then we're going to swap to Lucky Pants, empty most of the clip, or, well, all of it really, and then we're going to swap to Nessa's, 1 shot, and then it's going to proc Cascade for our Edge Transit, so we're going to empty the mag of Edge Transit at that point, and then we're going to throw 1 melee, pretend that that reloaded our Edge Transit. A tribute haul type thing would be nice here, wouldn't it, eh guys? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Nessa's, shoot 2 shots to reproc bait, back to Edge Transit. Then we're going to dodge this time instead because there should be a cooldown on Whisper of Impetus, which will prevent us from doing another shuriken. We'll throw a grenade, 2 more shots from our shotgun, then 1 more magazine from our Edge Transit, another shuriken, and then we're going to be back to our hand cannon, which should be reloaded, and then we're going to empty the clip for this again. Once it's empty, 1 more shotgun shot, and then we'll empty the rest of our Edge Transit mag. And by that point, the phase should be over. Now, this will take a bit of practice, I will admit. I'm not sure if I explained it the best there, but I'll just let this next clip play so you can actually see what it looks like in action when the reloads are properly proccing.
There is not.
It's okay, great. Yes. Yes, Greg. Yes. I like this. Okay, that might be good. Oh, please let it be higher than 3.2. Please, please, please. Yes, okay, that's good. That's good. Honestly, I'll take that. I'll take that. 3.25. So yeah, as you can see, it is a lot of damage. It's the most out of all of the rotations you've seen in this video so far, and it is on a Stasis Hunter. Could you believe it? This rotation is applicable to medium and long range, and it should work for most bosses. I also just wanted to note that in a previous video, if you have the shiny Edge Transit with Envious Cascade and Bait and Switch, it does end up doing more damage. In fact, I hit 3.5 million on a Golden Gun Hunter, but that roll is most likely getting patched, so just kind of keep that in mind. If you have that roll, it will do more damage for you now, but in the final shape, it is more than likely going to get patched. There is also a very real possibility that Lucky Pants is going to catch a nerf, which will reduce the overall effectiveness of this damage rotation, which may end up skewing Solar Hunters into the limelight once again. Right now, this is the best, but maybe in the final shape, when they nerf Lucky Pants, if they do, then you may end up going back to Nighthawk with Solar Hunter. So yeah, that's going to be all for today. I hope you guys learned something, and I really hope you enjoyed the rotation showcases. It took a while to get the clips for them, so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.